Nebraska side of the College Baseball World Series, and he wrapped up his segment yesterday with us, giving us some insight of the Baylor coaching search, that he would come back on if Baylor and when Baylor made a hire, and he actually had kind of said to us it would be with 24 to 48 hours. Well, he was right, because earlier today he had the story about 9 o'clock Central, if not earlier, about Mitch Thompson. Kendall, thanks for your time, especially at my hometown of Omaha, Nebraska, in the College Baseball World Series. So you thought Mitch had an inside track. People were wondering if maybe that was almost too popular of a hire, and would that not be the case? What was, in the end, your thoughts about Mitch getting the job?
Well, I mean, I think two things are certain here. I mean, obviously, from talking to various sources at the last couple of weeks, clearly Baylor aimed very high. And, there's some guys that decided to stay put at their current situations for whatever reason. I kind of told somebody this a minute ago. But, when guys stay places, it's not an indictment on the program that's trying to hire them. Sometimes it's just not the right fit. Sometimes it's not the right time for somebody's family. So every situation is a little different. With that said, Baylor landed on Mitch Thompson. And I think at the end of the day, that's going to prove to be a really, really solid hire for the Bears. I think when you look at Mitch, he's a guy that, what Baylor needs right now, they need someone who is all in, who literally just bleeds green and gold. And if you look back at Mitch when he was an assistant, he's always been a big Baylor guy. He's a guy that has literally dreamt about this job since the first day he was at Baylor as an assistant coach. And I just think he's one of those guys that, because every coach, right, has a deficiency. Where there might be a deficiency, he's a guy that will make up for it with just insanely good work ethic. And I think we'll put together a really good staff too. So at the end of the day, I get, if you're a Baylor fan and, you're looking at some of these high profile hires some schools make, you're kind of like, well, I wish we would have made that kind of hire. I think Mitch is one of those guys that is going to make the locals proud. I think he's going to get people in the stands, and I'm kind of excited to see what he can do there.
He was a great recruiter when he was here. He's proven to have a corner on the JUCO market there as well. How much do you think he will hit that transfer portal and then those JUCOs here to build his first year team at Baylor?
Yeah, I think the transfer portal is the most important thing. You can make your biggest splash right now with the portal. You just look at some of the teams that are in Omaha right now. You look at Auburn, getting Sonny DeShera in the portal. You look at A&M and all their best players are in the portal. So, I'm not saying Baylor can get to Omaha next year, but there is a pathway to where they can hit the portal hard, get some guys, and all of a sudden they can make a move and become a regional contender in year one. The other thing here is, as you mentioned, the JUCO market. There will be nobody in college baseball next year that will know the JUCO circuit as well as Mitch Thompson, and I certainly expect for him to kind of plug especially some of those early holes with junior college guys as well. So for what they need right now, which is someone who can immediately plug some holes, I think he's a guy that's perfect for that job.
I saw him this morning. I told you that, and then I saw his staff on the Zoom, and they were, of course, they understood. I don't know how many, if any of them, will be joining him at Baylor. Your thoughts about him putting together a staff? I've heard names of those who have been a part of Baylor before, plus the guys who he has coached with most recently. Have you heard anything to that point yet?
It's funny. I'm not really dove into the staff stuff, and really the only reason I have not done that is because we've had 6 head coaching hires in college baseball today, so it's been slightly hectic. But that's something we'll kind of know over the next few days. I think if you're Mitch, I think it's important to, get one guy who's certainly immersed in Baylor baseball, knows Baylor baseball, knows what to expect. I think it's important to get another guy who is just going to go out and recruit lights out. Obviously, you want a big time pitching coach, and so there are going to be a lot of options out there. One name that kind of comes to mind to me, and honestly, I had no idea if he's in the mix. But like Zach Dillon, he's a guy that's been involved with the 12 baseball program. It's one of the top, travel ball programs in Texas. So, if you're looking to make a splash recruiting wise, like a guy like that would make sense. But I would expect Mitch, with his connections here in the state of Texas, to really leave no stone unturned when it comes to his coaching staff.
You know, it's interesting. I'll share this. I don't know, because maybe we had the story as well after you did, and we've been able to get quotes from everybody. We had Jason Jennings and David Murphy. Zach Dillon followed me on Twitter about maybe an hour or so ago. So maybe just
there you go.
Just kind of checking in on what Baylor's doing.
Kendall.
Well, that's the other thing too. I was going to say real quick is, you know, you mentioned Murphy and you mentioned Jason Jennings. You know, I saw Kip Wells made a comment.
Yep.
The fact that all these guys like that are all in on this deal, that's a really, really good development for Baylor. So I think, you know, it's important as you know, I see a baseball program in an athletic department a lot like a corporation, a lot like a business, and you kind of want everybody on the same page. And it seems like with the Mitch hire, everybody's on the same page.
Mm-hmm. So just nationally, Kendall, now that Baylor's filled, Kansas is filled, Clemson's filled, and you kind of said, you know, FSU knows what they're going to do. So is USC the next big hire that has to happen?
Yeah, so we're looking at USC and Washington. It's kind of crazy. In one day, like, we're pretty much left with two high-profile hires. So, you know, USC is going to be really interesting. You know, they're going after, you know, they tried to make a run at Eric Backus at the last second, but Backus decided to stick with Clemson. They're looking at Troy Tulowitzki, the talented hitting coach of Texas, who's done a phenomenal job. They're looking at Andrew Checkett at UC Santa Barbara. And then Washington, you know, is taking a hard look at Jason Kelly, the pitching coach at LSU. So, yeah, those two Pac-12 schools, that's pretty much it in terms of high-profile head coaching coaches.
Kendall, within the Big 12, what did you think of Kansas hiring Dan Fitzgerald?
I think that's a really cool hire for them. You know, I think when you look at Fitzgerald and Dan Hefner, I think we talked about this yesterday, but, you know, Dan Hefner would be the first guy who would sing Dan Fitzgerald's praises, and I think Fitzgerald was a major part of that process at DBU in his 9 seasons there. I like the fact he was a junior college head coach at Des Moines Community College. He's been at LSU for a year. He knows how a big-time program operates. And so he goes to Kansas and, you know, is kind of a grinder type. And I think when you look at that and you look at the fact that Kansas, my understanding here in the next week or so, they're going to announce a significant renovation of the ballpark, as in like a, you know, $15 to $20 million renovation. Like, I think that's a great kind of relationship there with those two entities. So I think that's a really cool hire. I mean, that's about as good as they can hope for in Kansas.
Kendall, you already gave us your rundown in the College World Series. I know you were in Omaha. You flew in earlier today. Now that you're there, it just kind of gets you a little goosebumps as they get closer?
It does. I hope the coaching carousel kind of slows down.
Yeah.
I haven't really had time to come up for air, but no, it is great to be here. I mean, you just driving in and seeing the different banners, and I'll tell you what, I continue to look at this field and think, man, I really could see anybody out of these 8 teams win the national championship. So it should be a lot of fun, and who knows, maybe we'll see the Bears here in a few years.
You never know. You never know. Kendall, thanks for your time. Appreciate the insight.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Have a good week.
Kendall Rogers has been popping those coaching carousel stories, including, of course, Mitch Thompson earlier today. Garrett, do you have the Max Garner, the quote, the graphic that he put up? He sent this to me earlier today. I just think Mitch's track record since he was at Baylor shows how hard he works on the recruiting trails. We've heard that over and over again. And their postseason success gives us a glimpse at how as to how his Baylor teams will look aggressive, fast on offense, very solid fundamentally on defense. Loves Baylor, knows how to recruit big-time classes to Baylor. If he can get some help modernizing the stadium, Baylor will be a top 20 program consistently. Yet again, that's from Max Garner on Twitter, who's a passionate Baylor Bear fan because he played here, pitched here at one point as well.
You know who his best friend from growing up is? Here's a weird, went to Lake Travis High School.
No.
Baker Mayfield.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. All right.